In today's show, I'm going to be taking a look at players that might be sell-high candidates in Dynasty leagues. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today, what I thought I'd do is look at some players who could be sell-high options in Dynasty League. You'll see the list as I go through it, and I talk about why these guys I might consider to be that way. I excluded anybody over 30 because once you get over the age of 30, you're automatically becoming a sell-high sort of guy. So players like, for example, Kyle Lowry, he's a massive sell-high, but everybody's going to have that same caution or query about, hey, he's 34 years of age. What are we going to get out of him as we move forward? So I did exclude anyone over the age of 30, and I did make the list a little bit harder to create by excluding those old players because they're the easy ones. Blake Griffin, do we sell high on him? Yeah, but who's going to buy into it? Who's going to take Blake Griffin on, given how he's playing? So it's not really a sell high. What I tried to do is go a little bit outside the box and get guys who you might be able to get some decent enough value for, and it could very well be wrong on all of these guys, but just you hear the reasoning when I talk about him anyway. Let's go with it in that direction. The first guy that I do want to talk about is going to be a surprise to many. Maybe not a welcome one.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
John Collins, the Baptist. He was the 12th ranked player this season. He is 23 years of age. He scored 22 and 10. He shot 40% from three. He blocked 1.6 shots. He had a true shooting of 66%. These are all ridiculously good numbers. You cannot find anyone who disagrees with that. I like John Collins. I thought it was stupid that he went at pick number 19. I had him as a high level draft pick, a guy that should have gone much higher, a big dynasty target. I like him a lot. You've heard me talk about John Collins for a very long time. He was second on this Hawks team in wins added despite playing the fifth fewest minutes. He's really good. But everything you hear, the acquisition now of Clint Capella as well, the Hawks are, do they want to pay him a max extension? Could he be traded? Where do they view him in the future? There's just too many whispers and talks and moves that get made that make me think maybe they don't value him as highly as what we do. And also, he's the 12th ranked bloody player. How much better than that is he going to get? Will he be able to grab 10 rebounds and block 1.6 shots and shoot 58%, including 64% on twos, when Clint Capella's standing next to him, instead of when he is playing at center, or a stretchier big like Alex Len, as weird as it is to say that Alex Len is a much stretchier big than what Clint Capella is, or Dwayne Dedmon last season? Will those things be able to maintain? Where do they value Collins? Now, he could go to another team and get into a perfect scenario and still be this good. But I look at these rankings and I go, John Collins 12th, Giannis 13th. What is going on? It doesn't feel real. And the numbers aren't lying, of course. He's doing those things. But if someone wants to value John Collins as a top 15 player moving forward, and I think Collins could be close to this in the next 2 or 3 years. And I could be very wrong on this because I really like him as a player. I think he's super, super valuable. And it's all about getting the right value back. If you're trading him for a top 30 player, I'd say no. Why bother? Because Collins can be easily that and better. But if someone wants to give you an elite level player, expecting Collins to do what he's done now and go, well, he's only 23, age growth will allow him to get better, I don't really buy that. And I worry about the Capella fit. I worry about what the Hawks think of him. I worry about what team he ends up going to and where he fits in. There are a lot of negative variables about Collins, which I don't know the answer to. So he is at least worth exploring as a sell high guy. And that's why I do have him here on this list. The next guy, Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert.
I was probably a little bit sneaky with Gobert here, putting him in because he's getting up in age. He's age 28. He was the 39th ranked player this season. He averaged 15 and 14, 2 blocks, 70% from the field. I think we have to write off that he's ever going to improve as a free throw shooter. He led this team in PIPM and wins added by a staggering margin. The team was 7.9 points better off with him on the court than Donovan Mitchell. 7.9 points better off with him on the court. Donovan Mitchell was a negative 3.4. It's a wild swing. His impact as the best player on this team is it's undeniable for this current season. But where do we go with Gobert from here? He was 23rd last season. His blocks have come down from 2.3 down to 2. It's not a big amount, but it's an amount nonetheless. And that was in him playing an extra 3 minutes a game. So I think there are reasons to be a little bit worried about where Gobert is heading. Maybe not for next season, but you worry about, will he, when he gets to 31, where does he fit in? That's 3 years away. Where does he fit in a rotation? Is he a 26-minute-a-night guy? Is he a 21-minute-a-night guy? Blocks are already declining. He doesn't have a high level of skill in other areas to deal with that or to compensate for that drop. So Gobert probably will be a top 30, 40 sort of guy next season again, I would imagine. But when his contract is up, is he going to remain in Utah? Who's going to pay him? What team is he going to go on? Are they going to put him in a scheme that doesn't work for him? Not that he's necessarily a guy that's really scheme dependent. He can be successful in other areas. But I just think that you might only have 1 to 2 more years of top 50 Gobert left. And that is at least worth exploring to see what you can get back in a deal. And I do think that he won't be ending his career in Utah. I feel pretty confident about thinking that at this point. I also feel pretty confident in saying that if you're looking for a healthy cereal, Magic Spoon is the one that you want to go for. Cereal, everyone loves eating cereal in the morning for breakfast. Some people like eating it for dinner. Some people like eating it as a midnight snack. But sugar is one of the main components of so many cereals out there. Not Magic Spoon though. 0 sugar, 12 grams of protein, only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving. 4 fantastic flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry. It tastes amazing. Honestly, it tastes too good to be true. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free as well. And go to magicspoon.com/NBA and you can grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code NBA at checkout to get free shipping. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's magicspoon.com/NBA and use the code NBA for free shipping. All right. Next guy on this list, Budrick Hield of the Sacramento Kings. Another guy where I think his future's a little bit up in the air in terms of where he is in the NBA. He is currently 27 and a half years of age. We know he just signed that extension, and he's been pissing and moaning for the last 12 months. I want a max deal. They're not going to play me. I don't like that I'm not starting. His numbers are pretty strong. 53rd ranked player, 32 minutes a game, 20 points a game, 4 triples. And then when he went to the bench, he was the 36th ranked player. 28 minutes, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, over 4 threes, hitting 45% of his threes. But the writing appears to me to be a bit on the wall for Hield as to what his role is in the NBA. I don't think he's someone that you want to be playing 32 or 33 minutes a night. He played 34 minutes a night as a starter, 27 minutes a night as a bench player this year. It's a big drop. Now, his scoring didn't really fall off at all. In fact, he hit more threes as a bench player than he did as a starter. And efficiency went through the roof. And that's the worry that I have here, is the minutes is the big thing that I look at there. 8-minute drop. He shot 47% from the field on the bench compared to 42 as a starter. Okay, I think he's probably more of a 45 guy, so somewhere in between. But 97% as a free throw guy off the bench, that is not going to stick. He will not continue to be a 97% free throw shooter. Of that, I can assure you. Let's see how many free throws he hit and missed. He was 32 of 33. Like, he's not going to continue that level. He is a high 80s, mid to high 80s guy, which is still good, but that's different to mid to high 90s. So that efficiency, true shooting of 64% on the bench, 54 as a starter, if that normalizes, comes back to the 59 or 58 mark, those 8 minutes then take on a much larger significance because the scoring comes down, the threes come down. And instead of averaging 19 points off the bench, he averages 17 points. And then where's the value gone from there? And I think that he's not long for Sacramento. I think they will look to trade him, no problem. He pisses and moans. And the team that trades him, I don't think will look at him as a 32, 33 minute a night guy. He scores well and efficiently. But what else does he do? I think that's the question that's always got to be asked. Like, what else is Buddy Hield doing? What other things is he doing to be good? Is he a good defender? Yeah, he's all right. Is he a good passer? Not particularly. He was 4th on his team in PIPM, in wins added, sorry. Had a negative PIPM. Yeah, plus minus wasn't anything spectacular. It was worse than Bielitsa and Corey Joseph and Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes and even Kent Bazemore in his time there. I just think that we've sort of seen the Hield role now, and it's not that top 50 player that we've seen the last couple of years. Next up, Devonte Graham. When I talk about these things like sell highs and in any sort of context with fantasy basketball, I'm using my experience of people commenting, tweeting at me, dropping comments on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever it is. And if I see something appear multiple times, then I go, okay, that's worth noting. And it's not everyone who thinks that, but it means there's more than one person that thinks it. And when I did my mock drafts, multiple people, Charlotte's not going to take a guard. They got Devonte Graham and Terry Rozier. Why would Charlotte take a guard? They got their point guard of the future. Right? And that's a thought that people are having. I don't believe that Devonte Graham, we should be looking at him as, well, point guard's locked down for the next 10 years. We're set. But others do. And if others do, that means you can look at them and go, well, I'll give you Devonte Graham in fantasy and I'll get good value back. Now, he was a huge surprise for sure.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
The 54th ranked player. He played a whopping 35 minutes a game. 18 points, 8 assists, 1 steal. Shot 38% from the field and 37% from three. Hit a lot of threes. It did drop off after a really hot start. There's no doubt about that. His offensive PIPM was really strong and he was the best player on this team by a considerable margin. He was really, really good for this Hornets team. But he, to me, is not someone where I go for the next 5 years. Is Devonte Graham a top 50 player? I'll give you 2. I think 2 seasons he could do it. But I would like to see him shoot decently for more than 30 games before I lock that in. He is already 25 years of age as well. That's a key factor. And again, Charlotte does not have their point guard situation locked down because Devonte is there. He's going to be a restricted free agent after next season. So what happens there remains to be seen. But it's about manipulating and leveraging people's thoughts on guys and getting value back. And in dynasty trades and sell high trades, you might lose the first season. You might trade Devonte Graham and get back someone who has a worse season than him next year. But it's me trying to look 3, 4, 5 years down the line and think, well, is Graham someone where I go, well, he's a consistent top 50 player in fantasy? I don't believe that. I don't believe that Charlotte should believe that he's a long-term lock-in guaranteed starter. I don't believe that you should value that in fantasy. But again, if someone gives you nothing back, then you go, let's ride it out. Let's see what happens. Because there's obviously a chance that he does work out. But I don't think it's a guarantee. And if people are saying the Hornets shouldn't draft Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball because they've got Devonte Graham, comments I've heard in real life, then people think that they have got that spot locked in and they 100% don't have it locked in. 98% in my mind don't have it locked in. So there is leveraging available there for you to try and get something back in a Devonte Graham deal. And that's why I'm looking at it that way. Next up, we're looking at Jonas Valanciunas. of the Memphis Grizzlies. Valanciunas, the 55th ranked player this season. He played 26 minutes at age 28, averaged 15 and 11, a block, 59 and 73, good numbers. I've talked about Valanciunas. If you play him 30 minutes a night, he'll be a top 40 player. He played 26 minutes a night and was a top 60 player, so that's on track. I like him. Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark are there in Memphis. They're waiting. Is Valanciunas going to be someone that can continue to play at this level for the next 3 years? Probably not. I think he's got one more year left in him. I know they signed him to a 4-year deal last offseason. I think that he probably moves into a 22, 23 minute a night role after the 2021-22 season. And again, you might have to take a hit on the front end to get value on the back end in a deal for him. It is pretty wild that he's still only 28. He feels like he's been around forever, but he is 28. So when he gets to age 30, is he going to be as efficient, as aggressive offensively? Where's his three ball going to be at? 37%, limited attempts this season, 1.5 attempts a game. That's not that much. Where does he sit? I get the feeling that I definitely want to see more Jaren Jackson at center. I want to see him playing next to Justice Winslow at power forward and see how that works out. I want to see Brandon Clark and Jackson playing more together. And I think in a year's time, that's probably what's going to happen. So you're trying to leverage what Valanciunas did this season. Use Jackson's bad rebound numbers. Jackson, look, he can't even rebound. They need Valanciunas there. Brandon Clark, he's only good as a reserve. Like, these are the arguments that you can not use, but they're what people might be thinking in return. And look for that person who says that. Because that then gives you that idea that they then believe that Memphis will have to rely more upon Valanciunas moving forward. And I don't necessarily... I like Valanciunas. I like a lot of these guys on the list. I like Gobert, I like Graham, I like Collins. A couple of the guys coming up next I don't like quite as much. But I like some of these guys on this list. It's all about trying to see where the value is and see where it lies as we push forward into this. Next up, probably should have had this bloke next to the guy we talked about before, and that is Terry Rozier. Again, why would the Hornets draft Anthony Edwards? They've got Terry Rozier. I'll tell you why. Rozier's not that good. He did have a season that was probably in line with what we expected. He was going to get a lot more usage and a lot more minutes. 34 minutes, 18 points, 4 assists, 42% shooting. Actually hit 41% of his threes. A really surprising number. He was also minus 4.8 on off. That's rough. His PIPM was absolutely piss poor. Luckily, this team had Malik Monk, Dwayne Bacon, and Miles Bridges to be worse than him, but he was bad. Those numbers are bad. He doesn't generate shots for others at a high rate. His shooting is still a question mark despite that high three-point number. He couldn't finish two-pointers. He doesn't defend supremely well, I wouldn't say he's a plus defender. In fact, the metrics would tell you he's a horrible defender. But people believe in Terry Rozier because he had some good playoff games for Boston and he put up 18 points and played 34 minutes. He's their guard of the future. He's not. I tell you now, he's not. He's not that good. He put up the numbers we expected him to put up because we knew the role was going to be there. He was outplayed by Devonte Graham, for God's sake. Lost his position and had to move over to a different one. Maybe he's better as a shooting guard. But I would be staggered, if Rozier had more than 3 more top 100 seasons in him. I think that maybe you get it from him next year. I think the year after he probably moves into a smaller role. I just don't see it for Rozier at all as a long-term, high-level NBA starter who approaches top 60 fantasy value. I don't see it for him. I don't. And this is some of my bias, and I never thought he was good. He was exactly what I thought he would be this season, and I just don't see as a team, if you're building things, you go, well, here we go, Rozier's our guy. He's not. He shouldn't be either. Have to admit that my bias probably is why this guy's included here as well. Collin Sexton put up some really good numbers. He was the 83rd ranked player in fantasy, despite being one of the worst passers in the league. 21 points on a true shooting of 56%. He is pretty strong as a second-year guy. He played 33 minutes, got to the line 4 times, 85%, 47 from the field. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, only 1.5 threes. I have concerns. Now, the reason he is on this list, right, is that his last 25 games, he was a top 40 player. He averaged 24 points. He actually averaged over 4 assists per game. He shot 50% from the field and had a true shooting of 61%, and they are all really good numbers. And to be fair to the Padawan, to Sexo, he was really good. He played pretty well in those games. The passing was improving. But, and I say but here, because I look at Sexton and I am not convinced that he's an NBA starter. Despite these numbers, this team is horrible. He can't pass. He's not a point guard. He's too small to be a shooting guard. The efficiency is super impressive. And if I was trading him to get a top 70 guy back, I wouldn't do it. But sell high means look at what he did, because the Sexton people, the Sexton truthers will look at those numbers and go, he is a top 40, top 30, 25 point per game scorer on high efficiency in the NBA. And I will say, yes, that's true for 25 games on one of the worst teams in the NBA. But if they get more talent, when they get more talent, where does he fit in? And I don't know what the answer to that is in 3 years' time. I think that he probably has another big year next year. That'd be my guess. I think he has a pretty strong 2020, 2021 season. I think that's probably true. But then after that, I don't know where it goes from Sexton. The advanced numbers are damningly bad. Like it is a real problem. Defensively, offensively, the fact that he can't pass it should be a concern. You wouldn't want him as your point guard. Then again, those passing numbers and the assist numbers, but also watching him play, it did improve. But even in those 25 games where that efficiency shot up, he was still a negative 1.13 PIPM. That is atrociously bad. He was a +2 on-off, which is pretty good for considering the team. But yeah, that's not a good PIPM for a guy that's leading your team that way. And again, I just don't know sort of where he fits in the NBA landscape as we move forward. 3-4 years down the track. Next bloke up, Evan Fournier. Another one of my guys who I've been a big fan of for a long time. But Fournier was the 63rd ranked player this year. He scored 19 points per game. He's going to turn 28 in a few months. He shot 60% true shooting, 47 from the field, 41 from three, with not much else there. I think Fournier I know Fournier is a free agent coming up. Will he be back in Orlando? Probably. I think he's probably got 1 or 2 years left as a starter. And this 63rd ranked area for him, he played similar role last year and wasn't a top 100 guy. So, which one's real for Fournier? He's quite dependent on efficiency and scoring. And if he loses usage and he loses efficiency, then the numbers drop off pretty quickly. To me, it's a pretty easy one to look at him as a sell-high player. I just don't see him as any sort of long-term contributor on this Magic team, or even being a long-term top 100 guy. The last guy I want to talk about is his teammate, Nikola Vucevic. Similarly to Valanciunas, similarly to Fournier, a guy that's pushing. Now, I snuck this guy in because of age. Just snuck in. He's a few months off turning 30. He fell a little bit this season to be the 35th ranked player. He averaged 20 and 11 with a block, 47 and 78. He's really solid at putting up numbers. But I would say he's got one more top 50 season left in him. They do have Mo Bamba there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who has not been good, but they invested high capital in him. Will they start to ease off of Vucevic's minutes a little bit to give Bamba some playing time? Will they do, which something I've implored them to do, try the Isaac and Gordon 4-5 combination. I'd love to see that, especially with Chuma Okeke coming back next season. Like, where's he fitting in? Vucevic is still good. He's very good. He was still pretty good this year. I think he's still going to be good next season. But projecting down the line, if you can get a top 40 guy back for Vooch, that's something I would absolutely be looking into doing. That'll bring me to the end of today's Sell High show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below. Tweet at me as well, at redrock_bball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.